The sea awoke at midnight from its sleep, and round the pebbly beaches far and wide I heard the first wave of the rising tide rush onward with uninterrupted sweep.
A voice out of the silence of the deep, a sound mysteriously multiplied as of a cataract from the mountainside, or roar of the winds upon a wooded steep.
So comes to us at times, from the unknown and inaccessible solitudes of being, the rushing of the sea tides of the soul. And inspirations that we deem our own
are some divine foreshadowing and foreseeing of things beyond our reason or control. Into the darkness and the hush of night, slowly the landscape sinks and fades away, and with it fade the phantoms of the day, the ghosts of man and things that hunt the light.
the crowd, the clamor, the pursuit, the flight, the unprofitable splendor and display, the agitations and the cares that prey upon our hearts, all vanish out of sight.
The better life begins. The world no more molests us. All its records we erase from the dull commonplace book of our lives, that like a palimpsest is written o'er with trivial incidents of time and place.
And lo, the ideal hidden beneath revives.
Roar of the rushing train fearfully rocking, impatient people jammed in line for food, the rasping noise of cars together knocking, and worried waiters, some in ugly mood, crowding into the choking pantry hole to call out dishes for each angry glutton, exasperated, grown beyond control from waiting for his soup or fish or mutton. At last the station's reached. The engine stops. For bags and wraps the red caps circle round. From off the step the passenger lightly hops and seeks his cab or tram car, homeward bound. The waiters pass out wary, listless, glum, to spend their tips on harlots, cards, and rum.
Recordarás aquella quebrada caprichosa, a donde los aromas palpitantes treparon, de cuando en cuando, un parajo vestido con agua y lentitud, traje de invierno. Recordarás los tones de la tierra, irascible Francia, barro de oro, hiedras de matorral, locas raíces, sortílegas espinas como espadas. Recordarás el ramo que trajiste, ramo de sombra y agua con silencio, ramo como una piedra con espuma. Y aquella vez fue como nunca y siempre. Vamos a ir donde no espera nada y hallamos todo lo que está esperando.
When I consider everything that grows, holds in perfection but a little moment, that this huge stage presenteth not, but shows, whereon the stars in secret influence comment, when I perceive that men as plants increase, cheered and checked even by the self-same sky, vaunt in their youthful sap, at height decrease, and wear their brave state out of memory. Then the conceit of this inconstant stay sets you most rich in youth before my sight, where wasteful time debateth with decay, to change your day of youth to sullied night, and all in war with time for love of you, as he takes from you, I engraft you new.
Mindful of you, the sodden earth in spring, and all the flowers that in the springtime grow, and dusty roads, and thistles, and the slow rising of the round moon, all throats that sing the summer through, and each departing wing, and all the nests that the bared branches show, and all winds that in any weather blow, and all the storms that the four seasons bring. You go no more on your exultant feet, up paths that only mist and morning knew, or watch the wind, or listen to the beat of a bird's wings too high in air to view. But you were something more than young and sweet and fair, and the long year remembers you.
The vivid grass with visible delight, springing triumphant from the pregnant earth, the butterflies and sparrows in brief flight, chirping and dancing for the season's birth, the dandelions and rare daffodils that touch the deep-stirred heart with hands of gold, the thrushes sending forth their joyous trills, not these did I at first behold. But seated on the benches daubed with green, the castaways of life, a few asleep, some withered women desolate and mean, and over all life's shadows dark and deep. Moaning I turned away, for misery I have the strength to bear, but not to see.
Why didst thou promise such a beauteous day, make me travel forth without my cloak, to let base clouds o'ertake me in my way, hiding thy bravery in their rotten smoke? 'Tis not enough that through the cloud thou break to dry the rain on my storm-beaten face, for no man well with such a salve can speak that heals the wound and cures not the disgrace. Nor can thy shame give physic to my grief, though thou repent, yet I have still the loss. The offender's sorrow lends but weak relief to him that bears the strong offense's cross. Ah, but those tears are pearl which thy love sheds, and they are rich and ransom all ill deeds.
Sometimes I tremble like a storm-swept flower, and seek to hide my tortured soul from thee, bowing my head in deep humility before the silent thunder of thy power. Sometimes I flee before thy blazing light, as from the specter of pursuing death, intimidated lest thy mighty breath, windways, will sweep me into utter night. For oh, I fear they will be swallowed up, the loves which are to me of vital worth, my passion and my pleasure in the earth, and lost forever in thy magic cup. I fear my truly human heart will perish on the altar stone of art.
Cad frunze îngălbenite, cad mereu, și vântul geme în toamna întârziată, și fiecare frunză scuturată cuprinde o lacrimă din pieptul meu. Mă simt străin de tot ce mă înconjoară, de mine însumi chiar mă simt străin, și al sării triși întunecat declin, în giulgiul sau de nouri mă înfășoară. O negură de corbi se înalță în stol, de pe un copac cu ramuri despuiate, și într-un potop de strigăte stacate, sfidând amurgul, se topește în gol. Îmi amintesc de vremea de înainte, de fluturi și de flori îmi amintesc. Și cum pe drumuri singur rătăcesc, de tine, draga mea, mi-aduc aminte, cum te așteptam în brațe să te strâng, pe banca din alea solitară, pe când în străvezia primăvară, privigătorile cântau în crâng. Era pe atunci speranța în orice rază și dor în orice floare, și era atâta poezie, draga mea. Și văd cum toate acum se înmormântează, iar peste moartea sufletului meu, ucis și el de-a firii grea durere, încet se lasă noaptea și în tăcere cad frunze îngălbenite, cad mereu.
A river of yesterday, with current swift, through chasm descending and some lost to sight. I do not care to follow in their flight, the faded leaves that on thy bosom drift. River of tomorrow, I uplift mine eyes, and thee I follow as the night wanes into the morning, and dawning light broadens, and all the shadows fade and shift. I follow where thy waters run, through unfrequented, unfamiliar fields, fragrant with flower and musical with song, still follow, sure to meet the sun, and confident that what the future yields will be the right unless myself be wrong.
Right. Are we here? Are we all here? Is my mic on? Can you hear me? Who are we waiting for? No, we're here. We're good. We're good. All right. All we need is 14 lines. Well, 13 now. And after this next one, just a dozen to launch a little ship on love's storm-tossed seas. Then only 10 were left, like rows of beans. How easily it goes. Unless you get Elizabethan and insist the iambic bongos must be played and rhymes positioned at the ends of lines, one for every station of the cross. But hang on here while we make the turn into the final 6, where all will be resolved, where longing and heartache will find an end, where Laura will tell Petrarch to put down his pen, take off those crazy medieval tights, blow out the lights, and come at last to bed. Okay.
Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet heaven knows, it is but as a tomb, which hides your life and shows not half your parts.
If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say, this poet lies, such heavenly touches near touched earthly faces.
So should my papers yellowed with their age be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage, and stretched meter of an antique song.
But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date.
Sometime too odd the eye of heaven shines, and often his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by change or nature's changing course untrimmed.
But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou awest.
Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest.
So long as man can breathe, or eyes can see,
So long lives this.
And this gives life to thee.
Those lines that I before have writ do lie. Even those that said I could not love you dearer. Yet then my judgment knew no reason why my most full flame should afterwards burn clearer. But reckoning time, whose millioned accidents creep in twixt vows, and change decrees of kings, tan sacred beauty, blunt the sharpest intents, divert strong minds to the course of altering things. Alas, why fearing of time's tyranny might I not then say, now I love you best, when I was certain or uncertainty, crowning the present, doubting the rest? Love is a babe, and might I not say so to give full growth to that which still doth grow? Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark, that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely, as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs, and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
Devouring time, blunt thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Make glad and sorry seasons as thou fleet'st, and do whate'er thou wilt, swift-footed time. To the wide world and all her fading sweets, but I forbid thee one most heinous crime. O carve not with thy hours my love's fair brow, nor draw no lines there with thine antique pen. Him in thy course untainted do allow, for beauty's pattern to succeeding men. Yet do thy worst, old time, despite thy wrong. My love shall in my verse ever live young.
They that have the power to hurt and will do none, that do not do the things they most do show, who, moving others, are themselves as stone, unmoved, cold, and to temptation slow. They rightly do inherit heaven's graces, and husband nature's riches from expense. They are the lords and owners of their faces, others but stewards to their excellence. This summer's flower is to the summer sweet, though to itself it only live and die. But if that flower with base infection meet, the basest weed outbraves his dignity. For sweetest things turn sourest by their deeds. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds.
Go, cruel tyrant of the human breast, to other hearts thy burning arrows bear. Go where found hope and fair illusion rest. Ah, oh, I should love inhabit with despair. Like the poor maniac I linger here, still hunt the scene where all my treasure lies, still seek for flowers where only thorns appear, and drink delicious poison from her eyes. Towards the deep gulf that opens on my side, I hurry forward, passion's helpless slave, and scorning reason's mild and sober light, pursue the path that leads me to the grave. So round the flame the giddy insect flies, and course the fatal fire by which it dies.
Is it thy will, thy image should keep open my heavy eyelids to the weary night? Dost thou desire my slumber should be broken, while shadows like to thee do mock my sight? Is it thy spirit that thou sendest from thee, so far from home into my deeds to pry, to find out shames and idle hours in me, the scope and tenor of thy jealousy? Oh no, thy love, though much, is not so great, It is my love that keeps mine eye awake, mine own true love that doth my rest defeat, to play the watchman ever for thy sake. For thee watch I, whilst thou dost wake elsewhere, from me far off, with others all too near.
That you were once unkind befriends me now, and for that sorrow which I then did feel, needs must I under my transgression bow, unless my nerves were brass or hammered steel. For if you were by my unkindness shaken, as I by yours, you've passed a hell of time. And I, a tyrant, have no leisure taken to weigh how once I suffered in your crime. Oh, that our night of woe might have remembered my deepest sense, how hard true sorrow hits, and soon to you as you to me then tendered the humble salve, which wounded bosoms fits. But that your trespass now becomes a fee, mine ransom yours, and yours must ransom me. No more be grieved at that which thou hast done. Roses have thorns, and silver fountains mud. Clouds and eclipses stain both moon and sun, and loathsome canker lives in sweetest bud. All men make faults, and even I in this, authorizing thy trespass with compare, myself corrupting, salving thy amiss, excusing thy sins more than thy sins are, for to thy sensual fault I bring incense. Thy adverse party is thy advocate, and 'gainst myself a lawful plea commence. Such civil war is my love and hate, that I, an accessory, needs must be to that sweet thief which sourly robs from me.
Like as the waves make towards the battered shore, so do our minutes hasten to their end, each changing place with that which goes before, in sequent toil all forwards do contend. Nativity, once in the main of light, grows to maturity wherewith being crowned, crooked eclipses gainst is glorified, and time that gave doth now his gift confound. Time doth transfix the flourish set on youth, and doves the parallels in beauty's brow, feeds on the rarities of nature's truth, and nothing stands but his foresight to mow. And yet to time in hope my verse shall stand, praising thy word, despite his cruel end.
Amor mío, si muero y tú no mueres. Amor mío, si mueres y no muero, no demos al dolor más territorio. No hay extensión donde la que vivimos.
If I die, survive me with such a pure force you make the pallor and the coldness rage. Flash your indelible eyes from south to south, from sun to sun, till your mouth sings like a guitar.
Dust in the weeds, sand in the deserts, time, wandering water, the vague wind, swept us on like sailing seeds. We might not have found one another in time.
No quiero que vacilen tu risa ni tus pasos. No quiero que se muera mi herencia de alegría. No llamas a mi pecho, estoy ausente. Vive en mi ausencia como en una casa.
Esta pradera en que nos encontramos, pequeño infinito, devolvemos. Este amor no ha terminado. Y así como no tuve nacimiento, no tiene muerte. Es como un río, solo cambia de tierra y de labios.
Absence is such a large house that you'll walk through the walls, hang pictures in sheer air. Absence is such a transparent house that even being dead, I will see you there. And if you suffer love, I'll die a second time.
That time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs that shake against the cold. Bare, ruined choirs, where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire that on the ashes of his youth doth lay, as the deathbed, whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. I shall go back again to the bleak shore and build a little shanty on the sand in such a way that the extremest band of brittle seaweed will escape my door but by a yard or two. And nevermore shall I return to take you by the hand. I will be gone to what I understand, and happier than I ever was before. The love that stood a moment in your eyes, the words that lay a moment on your tongue, are one with all that in a moment dies. A little undersaid, oversung. But I shall find the sullen rocks and skies unchanged from what they were when I was young.
When I remember them, those friends of mine who are no longer here, the noble three, who half my life were more than friends to me, and whose discourse was like a generous wine, I most of all remember the divine something that shone in them and made us see the archetypal man and what might be the amplitude of nature's first design. In vain I stretch my hands to clasp their hands. I cannot find them. Nothing now is left but a majestic memory. They, meanwhile, wander together in Elysian lands, perchance remembering me, who am bereft of their dear presence, and remembering, smile.
When to the sessions of sweet, silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear time's waste.
Then can I drown an eye unused to flow, for precious friends hid in death's dateless night, and weep afresh love's long since cancelled woe, and moan the expense of many a vanished sight.
Then can I grieve at grievances forgone, and heavily from woe to woe tell o'er the sad account of forebemoan moan, which I knew pay as if not paid before.
But if the while I think on thee, dear friend,
All losses are restored.
And sorrow's end